What if I told you that you could wake up tomorrow, hand in your resignation letter, and never work another day in your life, all while still living in comfort and security? What if I told you that while the rest of the world is relentlessly chasing after that elusive $1 million mark, stressing over building $2, $3, even $5 million before daring to call themselves free, you could actually unlock financial independence with just $500,000 sitting in your account? Most people would shake their heads. They'd laugh, dismiss it, or even call you delusional. $500,000? That's barely enough to buy a decent house in most cities, they'd say. And on the surface, they wouldn't be wrong, at least not according to conventional wisdom. The financial media has conditioned us to believe that we need outrageous sums to retire, to escape the rat race, to truly breathe. But here's the part that flips the script completely. They're wrong. Completely wrong. Today, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Compound, the place where we take complex financial ideas, strip away the confusion, and reveal the simple strategies that can transform your entire life. If you've ever felt weighed down by the endless grind, tired of the old-school advice that tells you to work until you're 70 and then hope you've saved enough, then you've come to the right channel. Here, we challenge the rules, we expose the myths, and most importantly, we empower you to see money not as a chain, but as a key. Let's start with a sobering fact. Surveys show that most Americans believe they need at least $2 million to retire comfortably. Many even believe $5 million is the new benchmark. And yet right now, there are people, ordinary people, not lottery winners, not Silicon Valley billionaires, who are living more joyfully, more freely, and more peacefully than those so-called millionaires, all on just $5,000. The difference? It's not luck. It's not a secret club where only the wealthy know the rules. It's understanding one simple, powerful principle that changes everything about how you view wealth. Because here's the truth. Wealth isn't about buying luxury cars, oversized homes, or flying first class every week. Wealth is about choices. Choices to wake up without an alarm clock. Choices to spend your time with family, travel, or simply sit quietly in a cafe on a Tuesday morning while the rest of the world rushes to work. Wealth is not measured by the pile of stuff you own. It's measured by the freedom you gain. And that's where $500,000 invested wisely becomes a gateway to something most people will never experience: true financial freedom. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine for a second that you had $500,000 invested in safe, income-generating assets. With a modest return, nothing flashy, no gambling, no high-stakes risks, you could be creating income every single month without lifting a finger. Enough to cover your basic needs, your rent or mortgage, your groceries, your utilities. Imagine the stress melting away as you realize your money is working harder for you than most people ever work for theirs. Now, before we dive deeper, I want to ask you, what does your vision of financial freedom look like? Is it sipping cocktails on a beach in Bali? Is it spending slow mornings with your kids instead of rushing to the office? Is it having the power to say no to a boss you don't respect, or to a job that drains the very soul out of you? For some people, it's luxury. For others, it's simplicity. But for everyone, it boils down to one thing: choice. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think choice requires millions. But in reality, choice requires a strategy. It requires a mindset shift. And that's exactly what we're about to explore together. So buckle up, because over the next few chapters of this journey, I'm going to show you how 5 or 1,000, yes, that number that so many people laugh at, can actually unlock not just a comfortable life, but a free one. We'll look at the math, the lifestyle shifts, the habits, and the mindset that can turn this into a reality for you. Remember this: financial independence isn't about having the most. It's about needing less and designing a life where your money supports your values, not your impulses. That's the secret almost no one talks about. And today, you're going to see exactly how it works. Let's strip this idea down to its most fundamental truth. If you can generate enough passive income to cover your essential living expenses, you never have to work again. That's it. That's the secret. It's not about stacking millions in a bank account. It's about making sure the money you do have is working constantly, reliably, and predictably for you. Think of it this way. Most people live their entire lives trading time for money. They wake up, clock in, work 8 or 10 hours, collect a paycheck, and repeat. Their lifestyle depends entirely on the next deposit hitting their bank account. Stop working, and the money stops. But what happens when you flip the script, when your money itself becomes the worker, tirelessly generating cash flow whether you lift a finger or not? That's where the magic of $500,000 comes in. Take that $500,000 and place it in conservative, low-risk investments, things like bonds, high-yield savings accounts, and certificates of deposit. Nothing flashy, no Wall Street wizardry, just safe and steady instruments. Historically, these kinds of investments have yielded around 5% annually. Now let's do the math. 5% of $500,000 is $20,000 per year. That breaks down to just over $2,000 per month, flowing into your account without you touching the principal. You're not spending down your savings, you're simply living off the interest. Stop and think about what that means. Every dollar in that $500,000 portfolio is quietly working for you day and night. Your money is literally punching the clock, generating income while you sleep, while you travel, while you spend time with family. It's the closest thing to money growing on trees. Now, I know what you're thinking. $25,000 a year doesn't sound like a fortune, especially if you've been earning more at your job. But here's the shift that changes everything. You're not trading time for that income. You're not chained to a desk or stuck in traffic. Every single hour of your day now belongs to you. That kind of freedom is priceless. But we don't have to stop there. What if you're willing to take on just a little more risk? What if, instead of putting all of your money into ultra-conservative assets, you build a balanced portfolio, a mix of stocks and bonds, diversified funds that historically yield higher returns over the long run? A well-structured portfolio like that can realistically generate 8% annually, sometimes even more. 8% of $500,000 is $40,000 per year. That's over $3,000 per month in passive income. Now we're not just talking about covering the basics. Now we're talking about a lifestyle with breathing room. Travel, hobbies, dining out, or simply the peace of mind that comes from knowing you have extra cushion every single month. And all the while, your principal, that $500,000, is untouched, growing, compounding, building strength year after year. This is the critical distinction between thinking like a consumer and thinking like an investor. Consumers see money as something to spend. It comes in, it goes out, and it disappears. Investors see money as a seed. Plant it once, and with the right care, it produces fruit season after season without depleting itself. When you have $500,000 set up correctly, you're not just financially independent, you're financially immortal. Your money doesn't just support you today, it can sustain you tomorrow, the next decade, and even be passed down to your children and grandchildren. But here's where most people stumble. The real obstacle to financial freedom isn't about how much you earn, it's about how much you spend. Someone who lives comfortably on $3,000 per month is infinitely wealthier than someone who needs $10,000 per month to feel okay, regardless of how much either of them has in the bank. Because the smaller your required lifestyle number, the less capital you need working for you, and the closer you are to total independence. This is where brutal honesty comes in. Do you really need the car payment that's bigger than some people's rent? Do you really need to eat out 5 nights a week? Do you really need the latest phone upgrade, the designer shoes, the endless subscriptions? Every unnecessary dollar spent is a soldier you've sent off the battlefield, never to return. Every dollar invested, on the other hand, becomes a soldier that fights for you, multiplies, and brings reinforcements. I'm not saying you should live like a monk or deny yourself all pleasures. What I'm saying is this. Most people spend their entire lives working for things that don't truly make them happy. And in the process, they trade away the one thing they can never get back, their time. And here's the beautiful twist. When you stop equating wealth with possessions and start equating wealth with choices, suddenly $500,000 doesn't look small. It looks powerful. It looks like freedom. So let's go deeper into the mechanics, because knowing that $500,000 can generate freedom is one thing. Actually setting yourself up to live on it is another. The first step is understanding that your lifestyle and your investments are two sides of the same coin. One without the other doesn't work. You could have $500,000 invested, but if you're burning through $8,000 a month, it won't matter. Likewise, you could live frugally, but if your money just sits in a checking account earning next to nothing, you're not going to get anywhere. The key is balance, a sustainable investment strategy combined with a conscious, intentional lifestyle. Let's start with the investment side. If you put your $500,000 into a balanced portfolio, let's say 60% stocks and 40% bonds, history tells us you can reasonably expect 7 to 9% returns over the long haul. That's not a promise, of course. Markets rise and fall, But diversified funds, index ETFs, and conservative bonds have proven to deliver consistent results across decades. This mix provides growth from the equities and stability from the bonds. You're not gambling on the next hot tech stock or trying to time the market. You're simply letting your money grow steadily while reducing risk through diversification. Now imagine this portfolio earns 8% annually. That's $40,000 per year in passive income. Subtract modest living expenses, say $30,000 annually. And you're not just surviving, you're building wealth even as you live off it. That leftover $10,000 reinvested every year compounds, increasing your portfolio and giving you even more income in the future. This is how financial independence becomes not just a dream, but a permanent state. But there's a second part to this equation that most people overlook: your lifestyle choices. Let's take two different scenarios. As person A earns $150,000 a year. They drive a $70,000 car, eat out constantly, carry a big mortgage, and spend every raise they get on lifestyle upgrades. Despite the high income, they're always stressed. Retirement feels impossible because they believe they need at least $5 million to maintain their lifestyle. And person B earns $60,000 a year. They drive a paid-off, modest car, live in a comfortable but affordable home, cook at home most nights, and focus spending on what truly matters to them. They save aggressively and invest consistently. Within 15 years, they've built that $500,000 nest egg. Now, they're free. Who's wealthier? On paper, person A looks richer, but in reality, person B is the one who controls their time, their future, and their peace of mind. That's real wealth. This is why the path to living off $500,000 is less about how much you make and more about how much you keep. And here's where the psychology gets fascinating. Most of us are conditioned to equate success with consumption. A new car, a bigger house, the latest gadgets. These are supposed to show we've made it. But the truth? Every purchase like that moves us further away from independence. Think about it. The average person spends over $600,000 on cars across a lifetime. Not investments, not homes that build equity. Cars that lose value the second they're driven off the lot. At the same time, people complain that saving for retirement feels impossible. The math doesn't lie. If you can redirect even a fraction of that spending toward your freedom fund, you could shave years, even decades, off your path to independence. Another example, food and dining out. Surveys show the average American spends over $3,000 a year on coffee, restaurants, and convenience foods. That's $250 a month. A casual drain that feels small but adds up to nearly $1 million if invested over a lifetime at 8% returns. So here's the hard truth. Financial independence isn't stolen from you by Wall Street or government taxes. It's stolen one impulse purchase, one subscription, one lifestyle upgrade at a time. But there's also great news. The power to change it is in your hands. If you design a lifestyle where your monthly expenses stay under $3,000, then $100 invested at 8% covers you with margin to spare. If you live in a lower-cost area, or if you pay off your home, or if you find joy in simple pleasures instead of expensive ones, the math becomes even more favorable. And here's the beautiful part. This scales with your choices. If you eventually grow your portfolio to $750,000 or $1,000, your passive income grows proportionally. But you don't have to wait for those milestones to start living with freedom. Even at $500,000, the door to independence is wide open if you're willing to keep your expenses aligned. So the formula is simple but powerful. Grow your portfolio steadily with smart, diversified investments. Keep your lifestyle expenses below what that portfolio generates. Reinvest the surplus to grow your freedom fund even larger. That's it. That's the playbook. It's not flashy, it's not complicated, but it works. And the earlier you adopt this mindset, the sooner you stop chasing a moving finish line and start living a life of actual freedom. Up until now, we've talked about the math, but here's a hard truth. Math alone won't save you. Because the math works perfectly until your emotions get involved. Money is never just numbers. It's psychology. It's habits. It's the way you react when markets drop, when friends buy things you don't have, when society tells you what success is supposed to look like. That's why building wealth and living off $500,000 isn't just about strategy. It's about mindset. Let's start with the most dangerous trap, lifestyle inflation. Here's how it works. You get a raise, and instead of saving it, you upgrade your apartment. You get a bonus, and suddenly you're driving a newer car. Your income grows, and magically, your expenses grow right alongside it. You never actually get ahead, you just run faster on the same treadmill. This is why some people earning six figures are broke, while others with modest salaries quietly build fortunes. The difference isn't income, it's behavior. To reach financial independence, you have to develop immunity to lifestyle inflation. Every time your income increases, resist the urge to inflate your lifestyle. Instead, channel that extra money into your investments, into your freedom fund. That's how 500,000 goes from feeling impossible to feeling inevitable. The second mindset shift is about needs versus wants. Marketers spend billions trying to blur that line for you. They want you to believe you need the newest phone, the luxury SUV, the designer bag. But here's the truth. Most of those purchases don't add lasting happiness. They add a hit of dopamine, excitement that fades in days or weeks, while draining decades of your financial future. When you start seeing money not as something to spend, but as a tool to buy freedom, your entire decision-making framework changes. You stop asking, "Can I afford this today?" and start asking, "Is this worth delaying my freedom for?" That single question can save you years of work. Now let's address a fear that stops many people in their tracks: market crashes. What if my portfolio tanks right when I need the income? It's a fair concern, and history tells us that markets do go down, sometimes violently. But here's what separates successful investors from panicked consumers: strategy and patience. If you've diversified, spreading your money across stocks, bonds, and perhaps real estate, you've reduced your risk. If you're only withdrawing 5 to 6% annually, you have a cushion, even in bad years. And if you remember that markets always cycle, that every crash in history has eventually been followed by recovery, then downturns stop being terrifying and start being opportunities. In fact, some of the wealthiest investors in history built their fortunes by staying calm when everyone else panicked. When others sold at the bottom, they held. When others abandoned ship, they bought more. Why? Because they understood that temporary declines don't destroy wealth. Impulsive reactions do. This is why discipline matters more than knowledge. You don't need to outsmart Wall Street. You don't need to predict the next crash. You just need the discipline to stick to your plan, keep your expenses below your income, and let compounding do the heavy lifting. And let's not forget, financial independence isn't just about money, it's about time. Every dollar you save and invest buys back hours of your life. Hours you don't have to spend in traffic, hours you don't have to sit in meetings, hours you can use to build relationships, pursue passions, or simply rest. Think about it. When you're financially free, you're no longer forced to make decisions out of desperation. You can say no to a toxic job, no to a draining opportunity, no to a life that doesn't align with your values. And that kind of control is more valuable than any paycheck. But let's be clear, this path isn't easy. It demands something our culture resists: delayed gratification. It means driving an older car while your neighbor gets something shiny and new. It means choosing experiences over possessions, saying no to instant comfort in exchange for long-term freedom. And yes, people might think you're weird. They might not understand why you're so intentional with your money. But while they're chasing appearances, you're building substance. While they're spending to impress people they don't even like, you're investing to secure a life you'll love. Here's the irony. Those same people will look back years later and call you lucky. They'll say, "Must be nice to retire early," without realizing it wasn't luck at all. It was discipline. It was mindset. It was the daily choice to prioritize freedom over status. And that's what makes the $500,000 strategy so powerful. It's not just a financial plan. It's a psychological shift. It transforms not only your bank account, but your character. You become someone who thinks long-term, someone who can weather storms, someone who doesn't crumble under pressure because you know the rules of the game, and you play them better. So here we are, standing at the end of this journey, but really at the beginning of yours. We've pulled back the curtain on a truth that most people will never accept. Financial freedom doesn't require millions. It doesn't demand you win the lottery or strike gold with the next big startup. It requires discipline, perspective, and a willingness to see money differently. Because here's the real secret. $500,000 isn't just a number, it's a threshold. A threshold between dependence and independence, between working because you have to and working because you want to, between living on autopilot and living on purpose. When you build that nest egg and put it to work, you unlock something priceless: The ability to design your own life. You're no longer chained to a paycheck. You're no longer defined by what society says you should buy or how much you should spend. You're defined by your values, your priorities, your choices. And choices are what wealth is really about. Wealth is saying no to the things that don't matter, so you can say yes to the things that do. It's skipping the endless pursuit of more in exchange for the deeper satisfaction of enough. It's reclaiming your time, the most finite, irreplaceable resource you'll ever own. Now let me be honest, this path isn't glamorous. It won't get you applause when you drive up in an old car or when you pass on the latest upgrade. It won't get you Instagram likes when you choose investing over expensive vacations. But while everyone else is performing wealth, you'll be building it, quietly, patiently, relentlessly. And then, one day, the world will look at you and wonder how you did it. But you'll know. You'll know it wasn't luck, it wasn't chance. It was the choice, made over and over, to live below your means, to invest consistently, to value freedom over fleeting pleasures. That's what makes you wealthy, even before you hit that 500,000 mark. Because wealth isn't only the balance in your account. It's the habits you build, the discipline you develop, and the peace of mind you cultivate along the way. And when you finally cross that line, when your investments alone can cover your life, something incredible happens. You stop asking, how much do I have to work? And start asking, what do I want to do with my time? Maybe you'll start a business, but on your terms. Maybe you'll travel, learn new skills, or give back to causes you believe in. Maybe you'll simply enjoy mornings without alarms, evenings without stress, days without rushing. That's the beauty of this strategy. It doesn't just buy comfort, it buys freedom. Now some of you may be thinking, this sounds amazing, but I'm nowhere near $500,000. Where do I even start? And here's the encouragement I want to leave you with. You start exactly where you are, with exactly what you have. If you can save $50 a month, start there. If you can cut one subscription, start there. If you can put away $5, even better. Every step, no matter how small, is a brick laid in the foundation of your freedom. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait until you earn more, or until the economy improves, or until life slows down. Because time is passing whether you act or not. The question is whether you'll look back 10, 15, 20 years from now wishing you had started, or proud that you did. Your future self is counting on you. And remember, this isn't just about money. It's about life. About breaking free from a system designed to keep you working endlessly, spending recklessly, and wondering why you never feel satisfied. It's about rewriting the script, proving that you don't need millions to live fully. You need clarity, discipline, and courage. So here's my challenge to you. Stop making excuses. Stop telling yourself that freedom is for other people. Start today. Start small. Start now. Because the sooner you begin, the sooner you'll discover that 500,000, wisely invested, isn't just enough. It's everything. This has been Mike from Mike Compound, where we make finance simple, practical, and life-changing. If this message resonated with you, don't let it fade away. Hit that subscribe button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and let's build a future where money works for us, not the other way around. Your life is waiting. Your freedom is waiting. The only question left is, are you ready to take the first step?